thank you guys so much for bearing with me while we record outside today. I just wanted to find a place where we could sit and take a minute to have a heart-to-heart and have a brief chat with each other. I wanted to inform you guys what's been on my mind and go ahead and answer some of the questions that I've been getting, especially the bigger questions. We're gonna start by introducing the whole family. Hi, my name's Chris. I am 38 years old and I am the mother to two incredible human beings. Kala is 10 years old and she's the best big sister that anybody could ask for. And Mally is our 4-year-old miracle. Mally has a diagnosis of hydranencephaly, and this is a rare neurological condition that I have done videos in depth about on many of our social media channels if you would like to learn more about it. The prognosis for children with hydranencephaly is generally very poor. Unfortunately, most of these children don't survive birth. Malachi's actual life expectancy was a little over 4 years ago. So we just don't expect things anymore. It's okay. We live the life we have instead. Another one of the most common questions I get asked is, did I know during my pregnancy? I'd like to preface this by saying that's a very personal question. A lot of people may not be comfortable answering something like that. Personally, I have been very open about the fact that yes, I did find out about this at the end of my pregnancy. And had I found out about it at the beginning, I don't know that I would have been able to do anything any differently anyway. I don't think many people realize that I actually made the very hard choice to induce my son early, knowing that he had health complications and he may not survive with the diagnosis that they were giving me, but also knowing that I didn't see any other options. I didn't know how else to proceed. Every day I thank God that that was incorrect. I thank God that we just didn't know any better. Why don't his eyes close? That would be a result of the hydranencephaly that he lives with being unchecked for the first 9 months of his life, while I struggled to find a doctor that was willing to provide the operation that would offer him the relief necessary to live out the rest of his life pain-free. When he was born, we didn't have that much of a struggle. I was very surprised. As I mentioned, I wasn't expecting him to be born alive. So it was a tremendous blessing when I got to look at the possibility of leaving that hospital with my son. I watched this progress throughout the first 5 to 6 months of his life, and I begged and pleaded with the doctors nearest to us to perform a surgery that would alleviate the pressure that was building in his head. Again, there is no cure for hydranencephaly. It is inoperable and untreatable. So this was never something that was approached with the hopes of fixing Malachi, because that's not going to happen. There's nothing that's going to ever, quote unquote, fix him. That's not how this works. But as the disease continued to progress and Malachi continued to survive, it was very obvious that this was going to be excruciating for him if I did not do something. So I just kept going and I kept asking every doctor that I could find, and thank God I found some of the most incredible providers in the entire world. Like, not just in the country, not just in our nation, but literally worldwide. These doctors are renowned and they were willing to take on the burden of helping my family. For that, next question. And on the topic of the effects of hydranencephaly, the next question would be, why are his legs like that? Mally was born with what is known as contractures. This is a musculoskeletal problem. It is not a problem with his bones or his joints. His muscles are so tight in his legs that he cannot extend them, or it could fracture his bones, and it has. When he was born, he had a left femur fracture, and that is one of the largest bones in your body. This poor baby was screaming. It was excruciating for him. When he was able to exhibit that degree of pain and to ask for help so clearly, we were able to give it to him without hesitation, thank God. As I mentioned, that's not always been the case. That's not always been the roll of the dice. That's not been the outcome with every provider that we've seen. We've seen many providers that have elected not to take on my son's care. That's just one of the heartbreaking realities of living with a rare and terminal diagnosis. Why is the tube in his mouth? Okay. The oxygen tube is what is referred to as a nasal cannula. And nasal obviously is going to mean it goes in your nose. With Mally, he holds his breath. He will not allow us to put that in his nose the way that it goes. It does him absolutely no good at that point. We might as well just not put it on him, because he's not going to breathe it in. He will start to do something which is known as desaturation, and that is where his oxygen numbers will drop. It seems to make him a little bit more comfortable, and it still delivers the oxygen that he needs when he has these episodes where he can't maintain the oxygen saturation in his own bloodstream. Again, I am always happy to elaborate on any of these topics. If you guys are interested, please just leave a comment or message me. There are many ways to contact me on social media, and I'm very, very excited to answer such amazing questions, especially when they are phrased so kindly. I see that so much of this just comes from concern out of my son. And again, I won't be able to tell you what that means to me. I am beyond grateful for the love and support and consideration that I have seen upheld for my boy. It means more than I could ever explain to you. On that note, the oxygen tube, while we're talking about the oxygen tube, let's talk about what's keeping Mally alive, because this is another question that I get quite frequently is, how is he surviving? And good question. We don't know. We have no idea. No clue. Yep, that's it. No idea. Yep, that's the answer. Who knows? But I can tell you what it's not. It's not life support. It's not intubation. It's not total parenteral nutrition. It's not dialysis. It's not chemotherapy or radiation. There's actually a lot of people out there with G tubes and J tubes and all kinds of tubes to help them eat. Mally just happens to be one of them. And as I mentioned before, he's got some pretty cool hardware in his head that helps with that excruciating pain that he had to survive. He's very strong, and he is very capable, and all we have to do is love him and support him and follow his lead. We're actually incredibly blessed. I do get a lot of questions about how much of his life has he been in the hospital. Surprisingly, not as much as you would think. We fight very hard to keep him home, because with the prognosis and understanding his limited life expectancy, that is a severe detriment to our quality of life and to the time that we get to spend together as a family. So if we can avoid the hospital, we do. There are certain instances in which we are not able to avoid it, and if Mally is struggling, we have to go. We can't just let him struggle. He doesn't deserve that.
No matter where we go, we are in this together, always.
Another question that I commonly get is he cognizant? Is he aware? Does he recognize people? The answer to that is absolutely. While he is limited in how he can express that and how he is able to acknowledge that recognition, it's absolutely present. Count how many times I've gotten called from the hospital. Mom, you have to come back. Mally's just not having it. He doesn't like his nurse today, or, he's just throwing a fit because he wants mommy. And does his fit look like any other toddler's? No, absolutely not. Not typically, I should say. He can definitely work himself up and even appear neurotypical at times. Now, understanding that he has minimal expressions, that's another question I get commonly is, how does he communicate? How do you know? There are several ways that we are able to tell, but the best way I can answer that question is to just explain, you know, it's a language. You have to learn the language. You have to learn to speak Malachi. And once you spend enough time with him and you get to know him and you watch his hands and you watch his mouth, and then you listen to the way he holds his breath, or he'll set off his monitors if you don't pay attention, he has ways to make it very, very obvious. There's no ignoring Mally, not for us. That's why it was so important for me to share him with the rest of the world too, I felt. Another question that I get is about his functioning. Can he see or hear? He can see, but it is very limited. He has what's known as cortical visual impairment. Without the help of some incredible ophthalmologists and neurosurgeons and neurologists, I would have no idea what I was even dealing with. As far as Mally's hearing goes, Mally's hearing is impeccable. Mally has better hearing than anybody else in the house. He probably has better hearing than most of the people watching this video. He's had auditory brainstem response tests. That is a hearing test that is done on infants that are unable to really react. Mally failed that, completely failed that. So we assumed he was deaf and proceeded accordingly. And it was through the occupational therapist and the speech therapist that we discovered he was absolutely not deaf. It was just not possible for us to read the test results because of his neurological condition. And it was results like this that instigated a little bit further investigation from some of his doctors. And again, thank goodness for the amazing providers that he has that have been able to reassure me throughout the years that this is not for nothing. They love and support my son as much as any of their patients, and when I see them treating him that way, that tells me a lot. He could be something entirely different to them. If all of the assumptions that people made about my son were true, the doctors would look at him as nothing more than an organ donor. And again, he's almost 5 years old. The fact that they're willing to fight so hard for him and to go up to bat for him, knowing what that prognosis is, I was hoping that that would speak volumes to serve to tell people just how amazing and impressive this kid can be, even if it's really, 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 really hard to see. Let's get into some more fun questions too, though. Like, what does Mally like? You know, what does he like? He loves Paw Patrol. He likes Rubble. That's his favorite one. Not Chase or Marshall, like mine, but he likes Rubble. I think because Rubble is a little bit larger and easier for him to hold on to. So that's his favorite action figure from his Paw Patrol sets. And I think he likes his voice too. When Mally is watching something or listening to something that he enjoys, he will typically be relaxed. He will have a lowered heart rate. He will be breathing evenly. He will not be tensed. His posture will, it's very revealing. Again, once you get to know him, it's a lot easier for us to be able to tell you guys like, oh yeah, he's perfectly happy with this right now. And then again, when Mally is mad, he's able to demonstrate that very clearly himself to anybody that would like to listen. That's Mally. He will make that very, very, very clear. And if you guys would like to know more about all three of us, let me know in the comments below, and I would love to do a video on more about all of our likes and dislikes and who we are as individuals, not just as a family. Uh-oh. Okay, I almost forgot. Hold on. How does he eat and what does he eat? Mally has what is known as a gastrojejunal tube, and that is commonly referred to as a GJ tube. He, for the first several years of his life, had a gastronomy tube, which is just a G tube that simply goes directly into the stomach where he can feed. This tube that he has now, actually it has two different connectors. So one port in his stomach and one tube goes directly in and it just stops there and puts things in his stomach. Another tube is about this long and it winds down into his intestines, and it is attached to the same port. It's just an extension of the first tube basically, and that is where we put his food. So he eats with his intestines rather than his stomach because it is a very big risk. If he were to throw up, it could get in his airway, and that would put us in a very bad place because his neurological deficits don't allow him to handle that the way we would. He will most likely wind up with a pneumonia and could be intubated, or worse, we could lose him. Again, I make no secrets of the fact that we are expected to lose Maui. He's not expected to survive any of us. Not me, not my daughter, not any of us. The expectation is that he would not survive 4 years ago. So I understand that we will lose him. It is about how we will lose him. And there are some things that are just too horrifying to imagine. So we'll do whatever we can to make sure that that is not something he encounters in his already drastically reduced life. Not lastly, how does sister feel about having a special needs brother? I do have an interview up here on my YouTube channel about this, because I feel that it's very important to showcase how it's affecting her life and how it is changing her and shaping her as a person. That is also her story to tell, being that she is fully autonomous and neurotypical. So as she grows, I'm sure she will share with you guys what she is comfortable with. And meanwhile, I have no problem including you guys in the bond that already exists between the two of them and allowing you to view what is already established in our life. That is going to be the extent of that, though, because these are my children. They're not actors. I'm not going to coach them or tell them to do things. We just turned on a camera and decided to share it with people because it gets lonely sometimes, and we've run into some problems that we needed advice for. We needed guidance. We needed help. We have struggled mentally, emotionally, financially, physically. There are so many aspects that we would have been in dire straits with if it had not been for social media. If it had not been for the kind and generous outpouring of love and support and acceptance that we had found here, I can't really imagine where my life would be right now. It certainly would not be as happy and optimistic as it is. It would be much harder to smile and to assume that we will get through this somehow. That is a big part of why I choose to share this on social media, because again, at one point I didn't have that optimism. I did not have any positivity. I didn't have any hope. I didn't have much. And that is what we have gained through opening up and inviting others to join us on this journey. I'm so grateful that there are moms like myself out here that are on social media sharing the tips and the tricks. That's why I do the eye care videos and the oral care videos. I'd hate to think of where I would be. Mentally, it would not be a good place. I would still be just waiting for my son to pass. I'm much, much happier doing all that I can to collect every bit of information and advice as we go to try to give him the best life possible while we can. And again, I hope that in doing so, there are other mothers out there that will not have to feel that way. I've already met a couple of them, and they are forever my family now. So I will continue this journey at all costs. I only ask that if you genuinely have a concern for my family or my son, to please take a moment and utilize the information that I've provided. I have put a lot out there. Granted, much of that is gone right now with my main account being banned, and I am trying to recover that to the best of my ability. And if not, I'm sure that I will just reproduce it because it's important and it mattered. It doesn't need to just be gone. So I will continue to work diligently to bring you guys as much information as I can. And in the meantime, I just ask for your compassion and your prayers. That's literally all we're asking for. I am not here to place a burden on anyone. I'm not here to ask anyone to alleviate my burdens. I'm only sharing them so that they are not so heavy as I carry them myself. I thank every one of you guys that have been so wonderful and supportive. I hope that we are able to continue this journey and continue to bring you the content that helps change the world as we know it, that helps open doors for kids like Mally everywhere. Thank you guys for being so understanding and compassionate, and just being mindful of the fact that we are people and we do have a life off of social media too. So we have to be, again, you know, just very cautious about whose life we impact and how we do so. And I think that about wraps it up. You guys, if you're not already following, please click that button and go ahead and turn on notifications, because I plan on posting a lot more content, and I expect that it is going to get more regular as I try to grow this channel. I thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me this morning to go over some of the details of my life, and I hope that you've enjoyed getting to know me and my family as much as we've enjoyed getting to know you. Thank you all so much, and God bless.